What's up, everybody? This is Culturedog Sam Hatch back here with some more 80s lists. We're doing top 10 lists. And yes, my criteria for picking these titles is completely rudimentary and whatever floats my boat at any particular moment. And I expect to see all sorts of other options from you, the viewers, down below. We'll talk about it and we'll kind of hash out if this order was correct or not and what have you. But yeah, generally we're talking about the movies that impacted me the most in the 80s, though every once in a while I will cheat and pick a film from the 80s that I saw in the 90s but still kicked my ass enough to merit inclusion on these top 10 lists. And this time we're doing fantasy. Obviously science fiction was pretty big in the 80s, but fantasy films also were no slouch, so there's a lot of stuff to choose from. So we're going to start with number 10, Beastmaster. Yeah, man, the Beastmaster was a cable staple, man. Mark Singer in there. The dude had ferrets named Kodo and Podo in a little pouch. Ferrets. He could see through the eyes of the eagle. He could see through the eyes of the tiger. He could use ferrets to do cool things and climb up ropes and things and chew. And yeah, man, it was typical B-grade sword and sorcery material from post Conan, but Mark Singer was kind of unlikely as in a role that would normally be given to a very Schwarzenegger type actor. But yeah, man, Beastmaster was my jam. I used to rewatch that thing over and over and over again on cable because what else are you gonna do? I guess go outside. Yeah, play some Commodore 64 maybe. But yeah, Beastmaster, number 10. Number 9, Swinging Those Swords Heavy, Excalibur, John Boorman's film. Very stylish, very strange, and I just remember seeing it on cable so many times, and also from different times, that I always thought like the ending of the film was like certain parts were way farther into it than they are, and I never really got a feel for the structure of the film. And every time I thought, oh, this is the ending, and then it turns out it's not, and there's so much more after it. But yeah, classic Knights of the Round Table action, but the bits with Merlin working his sexy magic going on there. I remember seeing that as a kid going, ooh, boobies, yeah, boobies, yeah. It's a lot of fun, and Merlin's insane. Yeah, totally over the top, and just the look of it, the armor and the kind of the soft focus, and Helen Mirren's killer in it. Everyone's killer in it. John Boorman's Excalibur. Get the AC3 Laserdisc letterbox copy. It rules. Number 8, saw this cinematically multiple times. Dragon Slayer. And one of the films really taught me about special effects because my dad would read Cinefex magazine, and so I just remember reading about the creation of the dragon and the whole concept of the scary clouds in the sky that they used in films like this and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they had the fish tank with the water and the white and gray paints in there to create these roiling clouds. And it was just a really interesting time to be into fantastical cinema. And Ralph Richardson's cool in it, Peter McNichol's cool in it, and just fun kind of Sorcerer's Apprentice type stuff. It's a little kind of leaden in places. I remember as a kid there was like some bits that were a little kind of like, let's get to the dragon. But yeah, lotteries and damsels getting sacrificed to the dragon, too cool. And yeah, some of those dragon flight scenes are amazing. So Dragon Slayer. Number 7, I actually caught in a preview screening back in the 80s. They would do a lot of, outside of LA even, they would do a lot of early preview screenings, and it's not like, a lot of times when I go to critic screenings and that, it's usually the week of a film coming out. Sometimes it's a couple weeks before, but a lot of times they would have these preview screenings with quite a bit of an advance, like usually like about a month or so. And one of the ones I saw was Lady Hawk, and they would always let you stick around to whatever film they were usurping and stealing the theater up for this one screening. They would let you stick around and watch that film for the next showing. So the movie that was attached to it was Police Academy 2 with Bobcat Goldthwait. Everybody shop. Classic. So it was a great night. But Fun stuff. Matthew Broderick in it. The late great Rutger Hauer again. Michelle Pfeiffer's y'all. And yeah, it's a romantic fantasy with some super 80s soundtrack action. So it's none more 80s. Dick Donner directing. Yeah, it's good stuff. The premise is this curse puts Rutger Hauer into a situation where he becomes a wolf at a certain time of day, and then a human the other half of the day, and then on a reverse schedule, Michelle Pfeiffer is a hawk, but then a human. So they're never human at this exact same time, except for like a little brief bit during Twilight. Killer stuff. And Matthew Broderick is hamming it up and as this goofy little thief character. So, Lady Hawk. Come on, you love it. Number 6, I saw in cinemas a lot. Ray Harryhausen special effects, and growing up being really into all the old Schneer films and all the Sinbad films and the Jason the Argonauts, etc. I had to go see Clash of the Titans, and it was kind of the last gasp of that kind of fantasy stop motion action. Harry Hamlin in there. I remember watching. There was like a behind the scenes kind of preview thing on NBC or something before it came out, and I was just like so psyched to see this film. And of course, it being post Star Wars, you got to mix in a little robot. So of course, there's Bubo, the robotic owl, mixed into this thing. But oh man, Calibos was the coolest, and Medusa was just so badass. And so many times I saw that film in the theaters, and then again on cable over and over again. The Scorpion fight is killer. Release the Kraken, Clash of the Titans. It's awesome. The remake. Number 5, no surprise, Princess Bride. I never read the book. I didn't really know much about the film, and I didn't even realize it had come out by the time it came out on cable. For some reason, the whole marketing of it just sailed right over my head. But I tripped across on cable, and I was totally delighted by it. How can you not be delighted by it? Rob Reiner's Princess Bride, seminal stuff. Fred Savage in there, Peter Falk, and Carrie Elway's fantastic, and Wallace Shawn, and Inigo Montoya, and of course Fezzik is fantastic. So, and I was bit of a wrestling fan at the time too, so seeing Andre the Giant in a fantasy film was fantastic. It. I don't even have to say anything more. So number 5, obviously, Princess Bride. Number 4, I mentioned this before. It was one of the first moments where I felt like I had a distinct taste in cinema, distinct from my family, because I remember my mom, for some reason, got dragged to see this by somebody else. I don't know if she was on a date or something, but no, I think she was hooked up with my stepfather at the time. I don't know. But for some reason, she went to go see this film without me. And that's Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits. And at the time, I was pretty unaware of Monty Python or anything Terry Gilliam brings along baggage-wise. But I would just want to go see it as this crazy film with a kid. And it's an insane adventure through time and very, very dark. And I loved it. I was way into it. David Warner was the coolest villain ever. And of course, John Cleese in there. Killer cast and just a very, very British sensibility about it, which just impacted me as a kid in just the right way. I just took it for granted for what it was. And I loved it. And then I think after a while, my parents came around. My mom ended up liking it after a bit too, after watching it multiple times on cable, probably. So, Time Bandits. It's awesome. Get the Criterion Collection, Blu-ray. Number 3, no surprises here. The impact of this film on the whole kind of sword and sorcery scene in the 80s was huge. Conan the Barbarian. Yeah. John Milius. Killer Basil Polidorus score, which is, borrowed and aped so many times. It's just I remember this too, that my parents were like kind of meh on it when it came out, and then I saw it and was like, Jeebus, this is the best thing ever. Tulsa Doom was the coolest. James Earl Jones in there, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Crom is the coolest god ever. He laughs at your 4 wins. You got to do some Stygian Black Lotus, kick back, punch a camel, and just go along for the ride. Conan the Barbarian was totally the shiznit. Still is. It's amazing. I used to even have a thing called Cromfest every usually in July, bunch of buddies of mine would get together. We'd usually play a lot of multiplayer shoot 'em up kind of games when we weren't watching Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, but then we would always have to include Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, and possibly Red Sonja, depending on the night. But yeah, Cromfest, it was a big thing, so you should definitely do it too. But yeah, Conan the Barbarian, number 3, too cool. All right, then it comes to the top 2, which are like above and beyond like just about everything else in terms of fantasy, and these are a little bit different. They're not really sword and sandal stuff at all, or sword and sorcery stuff, but there is a little bit of sorcery going on. Number 2, Jim Henson's Labyrinth. I saw that at a drive-in theater for the first time, and I mean, just totally blown away. It had, the puppeteering from, the kind of Dark Crystal world, but a different vibe than Dark Crystal. More, goblins, and a little bit more kind of fun in that regards. But then David Bowie's character as Jareth the Goblin King was pretty dark, and then he brought along some great songs. And the score was fantastic, and I used to play the soundtrack over and over again. And some say I had a thing for the main actress. I will neither confirm nor deny that. But yeah, it was just cool as a kid, like just the whole kind of concept of having the obnoxious parents that want you to do things that you don't want to do, and sticking up to them, and learning some lessons along the way as you're flipping them the bird. It also is awesome because Sarah has a copy of the Judge Dredd board game that I used to play all the time on her shelf. I'm not sure why she was a big fan of the Judge Dredd card kind of board game thing, but she was. So yeah, Labyrinth. And it's still a perennial. I will watch it numerous times, different times a year. It's kind of got a vibe that I tend to watch for some reason around Thanksgiving, but then I also watch it during the summer because it was a summer movie too, so it works on multiple levels for me. It looked pretty fantastic, the newest 4K version I saw too, because some of the special effects previously had looked a little dodgy, especially the Fire Gang, which is like one of my favorite songs in the movie too. But yeah, the Fire Gang scene was done in black screen, and it didn't really look that great on a lot of the video transfers back in the day, including the letterbox Laserdisc. But Labyrinth, I was just talking about number 1 not too long ago. This film is, I'm so into it. I can't even lie. Ridley Scott's legend. I was totally a teenage girl when I saw this movie, and it made a monstrous impact on me. I saw, of course, the Tangerine Dream score because I live in the States. I've since, of course, grown fond of the Jerry Goldsmith version as well, and the different cuts of the film, and I've collected bootlegs before the Ultimate Edition DVDs and the Blu-rays came out and all that stuff. Way into Legend. That was my jam. It is kind of twee and happy dappy Princess in the Forest kind of stuff, but there's some ridiculously dark stuff going on there too. Some of the goblins are a little jocular and fun and everything like that, but Tim Curry as Darkness is the coolest. And some of the darker Tangerine Dream score moments are really just haunting. And I used to play that vinyl copy. I had it on cassette as well. I have it on CD. Of course, I've got multiple copies of the Goldsmith version as well. That movie blew my socks off. I only saw it once theatrically. But it made an impact for sure. And I guess I was just the right age. Was a teenager, hormones were going. Yeah, John Anderson's Love by the Sun was like really cool, man. But yeah, that's the thing though, it hasn't dated, it hasn't gotten old for me. It's like Legend is always going to be like up there, simmering underneath. I can't even say what near because it's going to ruin some other future top 10 lists. But yeah, for fantasy movies from the 80s, none can top Legend. So yeah, Tom Cruise is in it, Mia Sara, if I didn't mention. Some may say I had a thing for Mia Sara at the time, but I will neither confirm nor deny that. But yeah, Tim Curry just completely steals the show. Killer supporting cast, though. I'm not even going to run it down. Just get Legend and watch it and be like, that wasn't that good. What the hell are you talking about? But too bad. There's also a bunch of also-rans. We'll talk about those later because I'm pretty sure I know some of the ones you guys are going to bring up, so we'll talk about them below. Another top 10 goes down in flames. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to do some more 80s top 10 videos and more Laserdiscs, the top 50 80s laser discs, and yeah, there's no end in sight. This is just going to keep on going. So have fun. Cheers.
Boobies.